It is amazing to be with the two of you today.
Nice to be with you.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, such a pleasure. So I was at the season two premiere and it was phenomenal. Everyone was having a good time, as to be expected.
It was
It
a
was
really
fun.
Yeah.
a fun event.
Oh my gosh. And what a phenomenon you've created with this. I want to start from the beginning with how you landed on Mom Talk and what you saw in those moments that you went, this has got to be a show.
Lisa?
Yeah, so I have to give all that credit to Danielle Postadnik on my team, who was working with Macy and Michaela and Taylor. And she approached me, my colleague Georgia Berger, and was like, I think I have something here. I think that this is a show. Um, and she was very, very, very right about that. We started to get a couple of people calling and poking around a little bit. And I was like, look, if people are interested, we have to find the right people to work with. And that is when I called my friend Russell J over working with Jeff. And luckily they saw what we saw and we were able to make some magic.
Amazing. So how do you feel like, I mean, Jeff, you've been in the game for a while. How do you feel like platforms like TikTok are changing the way that we consume content and really changing the way we watch reality TV?
It's a really astute and interesting question, and Lisa and I have spoken about this a lot. I think platforms like TikTok and Insta and all of them are really woven into the fabric of young people's lives, right? 20 somethings. Lisa makes a good point earlier today. They grew up with screens. I didn't grow up with screens. And so that fact is woven into the series. And then the commentary continues online after episodes air. So, from my perspective, what it has done is as producers, we really, it's interesting. It's almost like the pendulum has swung backwards. We're really very pure documentarians in the way, 30 years ago when I would direct The Real World, it was very much a documentary. And then, in the decades after that, producers would steer the ship a little bit, or even some shows. It's come out now, we're kind of pre-planned, whether it's Duck Dynasty or the Braxtons. But having social media woven into everything and having an ensemble cast where each person has their own opinion and perspective, as producers, we can only document, because if we try to fudge anything when that episode airs, we'll have cast members say, well, it didn't happen like that. I didn't say that to that person. So it's actually very freeing to just be documentarians. And to answer your earlier question, after Lisa and Danielle had identified this phenomenon, my producing partner and I, Russell J, went to Utah and filmed, I think, about a dozen of the members of Mom Talk. And then from that dozen, really discussed with Lisa and team and with Rob Mills, the head of Hulu Unscripted, and his team. Okay, who do we want to focus on? Who and what's the right mix? Because there are more ladies in Mom Talk than just the gals you see on the show. So that was an interesting process to get to know them. And I think what's unique about them too, and you've probably, sorry, you've probably experienced this or heard this. A lot of influencers are able to curate their 2 minutes, but behind that 2 minutes, they're just kind of normal, chill people. So to have influencers who can do a great job curating that 2 minutes, but also have the skill set, the ability, the desire, the commitment to share everything, to share over the long form of content that we do, that is unique. And I'm stunned and grateful that these ladies can do it. I've met so many influencers who thought they wanted a television show and they can't do it.
Yes, in that version she just sent, I'm saying, yes, that's great.
They can do the 2 minutes, but they can't do an hour or 10 hours. So Lisa and her team have such a great eye for talent and a great eye for what could make a TV show. So at JJP, we're thrilled to be asked to take it to the next step and investigate and meet the girls and, you know, start sorting it out. And I think they're dynamite.
You know, it makes me so curious too, going back to, it must be such a different process from the real world, you know, if we're just going to take it back to like really where it all started. How do you, knowing that there's so much content out there to choose from, what do you look for in a good reality show? Like, how do you know when you see something, this person's a star, this is going to work, people are going to really love this?
For me, it's twofold. When you use the word star, that's rare, right? And I think Taylor Frankie Paul is a star. I'll be honest, it might sound kind of woo-woo or odd. That specialness I feel in my tummy. When I did open call for Real World 30 years ago, I went to Louisiana. I met like 1,000 kids in one day. One young man really stood out, and I wrote on the top of his application, put him on the show. And that was Theo Vaughn, who now is, you know, who he is. But even then, it's like your tummy, like literally has a butterfly in it. Like, I want to spend time with this person. And that's how I feel about Taylor Frankie Paul. But that's a rare occurrence, right? With a star. So 99% of the time, it's not that. And you do have to evaluate. I have a really simple checklist. It's like, first of all, is this person attractive to look at? This is television. This is streaming content. Are they attractive to look at? Number two, are they articulate and able to express themselves fully? Can they express their thoughts and feelings? Some people can't. And then number three, are they into it? Meaning, do they want to do this? I never try to pull somebody into it or convince somebody to do it. I don't like to uplift cast members who have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. That's not good for the cast, for the show, for me, for the viewer. So attractive, articulate, and all in. Those are the things I look for. And then lastly, I look for a person who is at some intersection in life where they have to make really difficult choices and change is upon them. And all these young ladies, they're so young, right? They're all breadwinners, moms. Most of them are married or have a baby daddy. And they are at this incredibly complex intersection of faith and a woman's place in the world. Is that at home? Is that in the workforce? Am I supposed to take orders from my husband? Are we supposed to be equal peers? Am I supposed to give the orders? They're all in transition, and it's a fascinating time in their lives, again, because they're young. 10 years from now, they might have a lot of this stuff sorted out and be living relatively calm lives, right? Right now, they're in the middle of the river. They left the one side of the river, they're walking to the other side, and they're in the middle of the river, and the water is fast and furious. So I'm very grateful that they're so generous with sharing their lives.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Lisa, please.
No, I was just going to say, and I think for us, we've seen so many people try to make that sort of leap from, social media into a longer form. And for us, it has to be led by a great story. And to Jeff's earlier point, we always say, like, if the 95% that you're not showing is more boring than the 5% that you are showing, like, there's nothing there. So, like, we hear and we have people say, like, I should do this, I should do that. And it's like, the thing is, like, if your day-to-day life is like just going to Erewhon and coming home, like, there's not much there to tell. So we always want to find a great story to tell, and like knowing what was happening in the real lives of these women behind the scenes, it was just so much more fascinating than what they were putting online. And you were just getting a glimpse into it. So as we, meet people or talk to people or think about what it is that we want to do next, we want to tell a bigger story always, and pull the curtain back.
I love
Well,
that. Yeah, it's such a phenomenon that you've created, and you've done it more than once with other shows, Jeff. And I people are so fascinated by everything about these women's lives. I would love to know, what is something that viewers may not realize that went into the making of the show?
something that viewers don't realize that went into the making of it. I think part of our job as producers is to allow the viewer to enjoy the content and not necessarily reveal to them the incredible amount of work that goes into creating a project like this. There are 60 people working 6 days a week around the clock when we're shooting in Utah. It's an incredible amount of work. And I will say, you know, unscripted television is kind of the ugly stepchild of the industry, right? It's the
Oh, babe, try working with influencers. We got you beat.
it's the least prestigious, right? It's the least respected. And I will tell you, it is an art form. It is an art form to collect these stories and weave them together with the guiding light of it being authentic, and also weaving it together so that it moves the viewer emotionally. A lot of talent goes into it, from interviewing to editing to scoring to in the field, creating those relationships with the cast members to help them tell their story, to help them find their words and draw out their story, even to lighting and graphics and music. It is an intense amount of work. So nobody needs to know about that. But when you say what's something that we might not think of, what you might not think of is the incredibly talented people behind the scenes who work very hard to create this series for the viewer. I don't have a dollop of soap opera to share with you that we haven't used, other than beats and scenes and dynamics that are coming up in the next season. But I will tell you, the cast members on the show, the men and the women, that's really who they are. If you met them in real life and chatted with them for 10 minutes, what you see is what you get. There's really, like today, 15 years into the Kardashian shows, Kim is a bit curated. You might get a different person at the Met Gala as a different person than if you're chatting with her in her closet for 5 minutes. That's just normal, right? She's a global icon. These ladies, they wear it on their heart, on their sleeve. They really are who they are, who you see on the show.
Lisa, what is it for you?
I like get on a high horse about this sometimes, which is how great they are as parents, and how much they love their children and prioritize and take care of their children. Um, and I said this somewhere else where I was like, I don't bring my child to work, so that's why you don't see them on camera because they don't bring their children to work. And I think that that's one of the things that I shouldn't be surprising, but I constantly see comments like, "Where are their children?" I was like, "Their children don't come to their job. What do you expect? Like, they don't want their children on camera. Like, they're showing like minimal, like, like I think they only end up on camera when there's like a child care issue of like someone can't get coverage, but like ultimately." Their number one priority is taking care of their children. And look, this show, their careers takes care of their children. It builds a business around them, protection and financial security to take care of them. And I, again, as a parent, like these are the things that we think about. How do we best take care of our children and what can we do that supports them long term? And I think that I also love that they're not included in the show. They're not really part of the show. And I said, like, I've been to a play gym. I don't want anybody following me around with a camera doing that. Like, it's not that doesn't make great TV. Like, I think being a great parent is something that like we love to hear, but we don't love to see. And they are that. So there you go.
I feel like it's such a testament to the work that you do because viewers do get so involved and intact and immersed in the world that they feel like they really are living side by side with
Yeah.
women. Like they know everything that's going on. And it's like I said, it's a testament to the work that you do. Um,
Yeah, I mean, that's like definitely attuned to sort of like the parasocial relationships that social media can sort of curate and create. I think that, um, look, Jeff is a legend. They're a team. They're so legendary in what they do. And we really have like such an interesting divide in how the team works to ensure that like they're making the best show possible and like excelling at the thing that they do and really delivering on that and like telling you the story from their perspective as like the genius unscripted like storytellers that they are. And we take a step back and we're like, okay, from the social media perspective, like, how are we thinking about this? How are we guiding the girls? How are we supporting them? How are we also supporting the show more broadly from the social marketing and curatively creating what the conversation is online, and allowing everybody to get sort of a glimpse into that world, I think has really been the difference maker here. Because everybody's always like, how and why? And I was like, because like it's not a singular screen experience anymore. You need to be looking at it everywhere. And like if something is unfolding on camera, it's going to unfold online. And that is not to its detriment. It actually benefits it. And so we want to make sure you're like, it's like, I was like, it's like a Taylor Swift album, right? You're like dropping Easter eggs so that people are continually like engaged and following along and really thinking about that.
And that's a shift,
Yeah, for
an
sure.
older way of thinking, right? I remember I used to tell Kim Kardashian, okay, you just got married to Chris Humphries and it's on the cover of all the magazines and everybody knows, but they don't know any of the details. They don't know any of the, personal dynamics, the machinations. Don't post about that. Don't post about it. Save all of that for the viewer to experience on the show. That was 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Lisa's so right. And now the opposite is,
Yeah.
of course, share it online because, like Lisa said, it's not a single screen experience. It flows back and forth. And it's such a I'm just thrilled to be partnered with Lisa and her team at Select because they are the masters at their area of that flow.
You both kind of touched on this a little bit, but I would love to know how do you dream of evolving the show and its popularity?
Lisa?
God, I think there's so many, like, I think that there's like a lot to do here. Like, I think that the internet and scandal go hand in hand. So whether that is new groups of people, I also think that they're like, we we show a lot, we don't show all of it. I think that there's more to do around the show the reunion special got announced yesterday, which is really fantastic, and I think people are going to really love. I mean, I think that there are so many layers to each of the people on the show, and I think it's really interesting to look at the humanity of it all. Like I like made a joke the other day. I was like, we should do a documentary called Making Mormons, and that's like how this has all come to be. Like it's really such a it's a case study in how to make content that's longer form that also works with social media as well. But I mean, I think that continuing to follow these women as they evolve, as they change, as we see their relationships transform is going to be really amazing. And like, I think Jeff always says, protect the mothership. Like, we want to protect the mothership. We want to make sure that everybody on the show is taken care of, and we're considering that first and foremost before we think about expanding beyond anything else. But I want to know Jeff's thoughts now too.
How to evolve the show. I honestly feel that as long as these ladies continue to share at the volume that they're sharing right now, the show will naturally evolve. Think about season 1 of the Kardashians. Kourtney, Khloe, and Kim were working in their little janky boutique in a mini mall in Calabasas. I think Kourtney was driving a Toyota Camry or something. And now think of them 15 years later. What an evolution. Not saying that our Mormon ladies are, going to become, billionaires. But as they, like I said earlier, they're in the middle of that river of change. There's so much still happening and still to come. Who's going to stay married? Who's going to get divorced? Who is going to leave the church? Who's going to double down on their faith? One thing that I'd personally very much like to see in future iterations of the show is any official representative from the LDS faith, especially in the state of Utah where the ladies live, to come onto the show and have any sort of dialogue with our ladies. That's what I really would hope for. And not to expose anyone or test anyone or throw anyone under the bus, but to have a healthy relationship, a healthy dialogue, excuse me, not relationship, a healthy dialogue. There's changes in the Catholic Church. There's changes afoot in LDS. There's changes afoot in Islam. Almost everyone, even tangentially, follows one of these world religions. It would be really great to have an open dialogue of how it can be more inclusive and include people in a more full embrace and maybe with a little more equity.
What a way to push the needle forward. It's interesting to hear you say that. I think that would be a wonderful thing. I would like to see that too.
Yeah.
Lastly, because we are awards buzz, I would love to know if the Emmys had a most courageous production category, what scene or storyline from season 2 would you submit?
Most courageous. That's
I've got a tie on this one.
good.
I would say Michaela's journey and story and what she shared this season is tied with Macy going back to the crash site of her, I hate saying baby daddy, but her son's father. I think that those moments, and it's so interesting. Like I don't learn about the show until like I get to watch it a little bit later, so that we can maintain the integrity of the show. And as I watched those episodes, I like sat in Jeff's office just like sobbing. It was like not okay. And I just was like, it is really important for women to tell their stories and to give insight into who they are and why they are who they are. And I think that those scenes were just extremely, I mean, there's so many, but like I found those to be particularly powerful.
I agree with you. Those are incredible stories. And those are both examples, again, of that ability to share. How painful both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
The most intimate parts of Michaela's life, so intimate that she's able to crack that door open for us and share. That is incredibly brave. To go in an entirely different end of the spectrum, I think everybody at the Halloween party was brave as fuck. Even the camera people were
Oh
like,
my God.
to get arrested. Is Brett gonna punch somebody out? Is Chase gonna punch somebody out? Are these girls gonna throw down? Are we gonna have an actual physical fight that we have to break up? That was like a bravery, like medals for cast and crew and local law enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I feel like that constantly as I'm watching the show. It's like a lot of times I'm just picking my mouth up off the floor.
Right? I'm
Oh,
like, what? And now the cops are here, and Jesse says to the cops, have you seen
Oh,
Secret Lives of Mormon Wives? How meta and
so
fucking
good.
hysterical. Hysterical.
Perfect.
that honestly
Perfect.
my favorite line of the whole season, actually.
It's perfect.
So funny. So fun. And that's just Jesse trying to
Yeah.
explain.
Listen, I just applaud the two of you for bringing such a phenomenon to life for all of us who really do feel like we have a stake in it. You continuously do that in your work, and my gosh, like season three, I'm like, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Me too.
It's gonna
It's
be
coming.
great.
I can't wait. Thank you both so much for taking the time to spend with me today. It was such a pleasure.
Of course. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. You're delightful. Thank you very
Oh, thank
much.
you, thank you.
Have a great day, Sari.
See you soon.
Bye.